Come on. Yay. There we go. Right, I've got to do this stuff, haven't I, tonight? Because it's a little bit different. So,
go on.
Hello, everybody. Yeah. I'm working on it. Good evening. Welcome. So tonight you'll notice there's a little bit of difference. It's not that anybody's had a sex change or anything like that. We've got a new guest on and we're missing the person that normally runs things. So it's going to be down to an incompetent individual to clock watch. It's not best around for that sort of stuff. But obviously we've got my ugly mug, and we've got the wonderfully handsome Will, and special guest Dr. Luke Greenwood, who's joined us this evening, and we're going to surprise him with lots of in-depth questions. Just try and
probe.
Not at all. It is just a chat. So normally I get interrogated about how my week's gone, but for I can have a rest for a few seconds. So I'll probably be gentle with you, Luke, and we'll ask Will, how's your week gone, mate?
My week, well, good to be here. I can just feel the testosterone in the room now,
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about fighting and football.
Yeah.
We start arm wrestling.
Yeah.
Do you know what? My week was more of the same, general implant monkey, with some general dentistry thrown in to boot. So nothing out of the ordinary. Again, we talked about being quite busy, which still surprises us, I think, So closed off a load more treatment plans this week, especially over in Dorwich. So that was good. So it's kind of business as usual, really. And I'll be interested to hear how Luke feels about, how he's got back into the swing of things. So, for me, more of the same. Busy, happy to be so. And, just while the going is good, I think, perhaps there is a sea change in the world or the economy or the UK coming up at some point. But I think for now, it's just, getting in there, working it while we can.
Yeah. And Luke, yourself, you're well, how long have you been back now?
Oh, God. Mid-June.
Mid-June.
Then
that's good.
During the lockdown at Sally Park, Hugo and I were running the emergency phones over that period. So
yeah,
we were doing week on, week off. So, but yeah, back in from like mid-June.
Yeah. So is that just like triaging and then sending them out to the UDCs?
Yeah.
Them. Sorry, you lovely patients. Them. Them.
Them to give antibiotics if they needed to.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, really.
And how busy was that? How busy was it until you could open back up again?
Like, I just probably, well, I don't know really, because the thing is, we never answer the phones, do we? Like all the reception team deal with all that sort of thing every day. So
yeah,
my experience is probably like 5-6 phone calls every day, sometimes more.
Okay, that's not quiet, is it? That's a fair few.
And like people remotely like that was just so hard.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
But to be like, I'm an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes away from the practice. So if I had to go out and meet someone, I'd often go out, meet someone to give them antibiotics if they got swelling, be driving home, and then someone else phone me. And I'd either have to turn back or say, I've got to go in tomorrow again or something. So it was difficult. It wasn't easy.
You should have had a little dispenser on the door, that you could just put 50p to help yourself to a week's supply of amoxicillin. There you go. Why didn't we all think of that?
I know, like there's one of those little Pez dispensers.
Yeah. So, Luke, tell me, how was the process of referring people forward to the urgent care centres? Because to be honest, I never got to that point where I had to refer somebody, thankfully, but it looked as though I needed to have some sort, because I'm totally private and I was trying to get one of those NHS emails that you were supposed to have in order to make it work. So, I mean, thankfully, I tried to get one and obviously that was a non-starter. So I don't know how it all worked for you.
Well, so I work at 3 practices. Hugo's at Selly Park's fully private, so we haven't got an NHS email account or anything like that. My dad's practice and then Elmhurst and Harborne have both got really small NHS contracts. But from Selly Park, we were just sending them from our own practice email, and they were picking them up.
Oh, okay. And what was their lead-in time? Or
is he frozen? He might have done. I don't think he can stay still for that long.
It's not one of those gags again, is it?
No, I don't think so. Hang on a sec. No, I don't think it is.
No.
I think his internet connection's dropped.
Try tickling him. See if that works.
Yeah.
No.
So
well, did you have any issues with that? Because I mean, you're obviously roving implant guy as well. So yeah. Presumably everything just went to the general practice switchboards that you would have been part of.
Yeah, it was.
So you sat at home just watching Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much, yeah. Coughing at the beginning, and then as it went along. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to see if I can invite him, but we'll carry on chatting. So yeah, it was. I got asked a few questions by a couple of the owners. There were one or two little, sort of like a healing abutment might have come off, but nothing really because I don't do any of the general work.
Do you ever get the phone call? My implants come out, like when a healing abutment come out, and you kind of like, no, you sure? And they're like, once in a blue moon, sometimes says their implants come out, and actually their implants come out, but not very often. Anybody who's watching, but by and large, it's healing abutments.
So that little healing abutment, I get them to send a photograph.
That's a good idea.
So, hiya, mate.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's the problem with you on BT Sky.
No, we're on Airband, which is like a rural Wi-Fi. It's like a Wi-Fi.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. Normally it does, but yeah.
No, it's fine, mate. It's absolutely fine.
The problem is you're obviously in some big country manor, I reckon, by the looks of the beams in the background, and it's just not getting through from the West Wing, I think, just to...
North end of the house, so no. Where did I get to anyway? Sorry.
Referrals to urgent care centres and that kind of thing. And
did you not hear any of my response to that?
Yeah, we heard a little bit. And then you just froze, and Will thought you were taking the mick out of him.
We tried tickling you, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
So we just sent them from Hugo at Selly Park from our normal practice email and didn't have any. So, but then actually getting people seen, that was a different story.
Okay.
So it would be like, well, you need to give them antibiotics first before we'll see them, even though they're not indicated in the slightest. You still need to go through the process, and if they're still having problems, then we'll see them afterwards. So Hugo and I had some heated backward and forward emails with the hubs regarding that sort of thing. But yeah,
I mean, it seemed as though unless you were dying or you were getting a swelling that was going to occlude your airway, they weren't that interested.
No. And even now, I've tried to send a couple from Dad's practice, NHS patients, and now it's even harder to get them seen. Like, they just won't see them, basically. But if you send people to the dental hospital as well, they wouldn't see anyone.
But presumably that everyone can be seen in practice now, I guess. So they're probably...
I think Luke probably talks, is you talking maybe more the COVID positive potential cases or the higher risk maybe?
Well, like from an NHS, I mean, neither of you guys work in the NHS, do you?
No. So we don't really fully understand it.
At level 4 now, we're supposed to be prioritising emergency and treatment that was cancelled from pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So shouldn't be seeing any examinations or anything that's on, new, basically. So anyone that's had a problem and we can't accommodate immediately, say, for example, we're booked up now for 3 weeks at my dad's practice. So if they've got an urgent problem, like that was what the hub was meant to be there for, that we could send people and they could get seen quickly. But now it just doesn't happen. So
yeah, I wasn't connecting that, but I worked in a practice yesterday, and they've got a big NHS contract, and they're telling me that they've had to cancel all their examinations until January to deal with the backlog of everything else. And the sad news that I heard is that a couple of the dentists that work there have basically just given up, handed the notice in, don't want to do dentistry anymore, got too stressed about it, and are not really kind of sort of surviving on how it works. So they've kind of not handed in their notice to go and find another job in dentistry, just given up.
Gone.
Gone. It's just that's it. Which is really sad to hear, because they're young, like you, Luke. They're not like me and Will.
Us old crocs.
Yeah. But then there's lots of issues that go with that. There's the issue of how they felt and how they've been treated, not by the practice, I hasten to add, but by the NHS, I guess you could say. And then the after effects of that is what happens to the patients, because you've got to get someone in then to come and look after those patients. And I can't imagine anybody wanting to come in and look after those patients. So then that then goes on the people that are already there. It just keeps stacking up and stacking up and stacking up. Now, we're talking about dentistry. This has got to go across the whole of healthcare, I would have thought.
Then the problem is that we're getting so many new patient inquiries wanting NHS treatment because people can't get in anywhere, because everyone's trying to deal with their own patients, that people with problems that haven't got dentists. That's stacking up as well. But like you say, it's happening across the board, I'd have thought.
Yeah.
I mean, my understanding, and you can correct me, Luke, was that the NHS were going to carry on paying X amount as long as 20% of the work was being done. Is that still the case?
Yeah. So, but look, don't quote me as golden on this, because I'm not.
No, not at all. It's fine.
Yeah, 20. As long as you were doing 20% of your activity from between, I think it was June, July, and August, or July, August, September, I can't remember. But as long as you were doing that, you were going to get paid your full contract value minus a fee for lab bills. That they said that obviously you won't be paying lab bills, so they're going to take that back off you. But that 20%, so that included, it wasn't based on UDAs. So that was on, if you were doing a telephone triage and recording that counted as one submission of a patient. So like, I know of some practices, I won't name names, but that you could just sit at home and telephone triage everyone and still be doing your activity and still be getting paid all of your contract money.
Is it felt that there's going to be a day of reckoning within the NHS, that they're going to want to start clawing things back?
Something's got to happen, isn't it? We just don't know. And they want, so if you've got an NHS contract, they want you to fill out a triage form for every single patient that's booked in at that practice. Even if they're private patients, they want you to fill in their details online every time you've spoken to them on the phone and record that. So no one really knows why they want that data and why they're interested in what. You don't distinguish between private and NHS on there, but why do they want all that information? There's something, I don't know, but yeah. You imagine the extra paperwork that's like us and practice at Harborne, the paperwork's just massive.
Well, it's nice to know that they're utilising your time nicely so that you can spend clinical time looking after your patients rather than doing paperwork.
Yeah,
it's good to hear that they've got that sorted.
And then they want information. We've got to submit information about staffing hours and all sorts of stuff like that. line as well.
I reckon it's all evidence to hang you with at some point down the line, potentially, isn't it?
You cynical so-and-so.
Call me a cynic, but
Oh, man's like he's just like, at some point they're going to they want it so that they can say to you, well, you were doing this, why we were paying you, why haven't you done this sort of thing? So
yeah.
It's disappointing me. I think you're correct. And it's one of those "I told you so" ones.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of sort of AGPs and things like that, I mean, are you doing many AGP treatments? You're having to do many of those. Yeah. And how are you managing with that? I mean, obviously I'm aware of Selly-Oak, and you potentially have a spare surgery, potentially, depending on how that works. So you could continue the care while you get the fallow time in the other one. Yeah. But I don't know what that's like in the other practices. Is that something that you can manage, or is something that hits you hard?
So like at Dad's, it's just a one-man band there, really. So we're just doing a little hygienist surgery. So we were just booking like the one, basically an AGP was taking a whole session, really. And then we booked a load in now, and then they've just changed the fallow time things, haven't they? So we've got to go back through now and look at that and see if we can tag some patients in on the end of those treatments. But yeah, it's hitting us hard.
Have you invested in any of these virus killers and air cleaners? No. So you've got the wall aperture system, like many of us have, which works very well. So we're all going to be sitting there, aren't we, in our kind of ski jackets and gloves with the windows wide open, sort of come the winter, getting absolutely soaked for the sake of our half an hour and our 10 air exchanges per hour. Nobody's going to care. They're just going to be too wet and too cold.
You're going to start me off, mate. You're going to start me off.
Well, obviously, I'm doing the little prod. I'm just
all right, yeah.
Oh, you can take it from here, Carl.
I'll let you speak. I'll go on.
Air changes or anything? Will you haven't invested in any like circuit, anything?
No. I mean, if you watched us ranting sort of back in the summer,
I'm ready.
Where Carl was sort of frothing at the mouth and foaming like he had rabies when he started discussing the evidence behind, the rules that were coming in. I think we sort of decided that it was best to hold off on the investment, really. I wish I'd maybe invested in the companies that were importing them and selling them. There was a window of opportunity, wasn't there, to make a lot of money. But I think now, that's probably gone.
Well, I got all excited because the PHE released their updated document with the tables in the high risk, the medium risk, and the low risk. And I scanned table 2, and I thought, oh, crikey, they've seen sense. They're regarding dentistry as low risk. So it's back to face masks, and we're getting in there with some AGPs, and then they put the little disclaimer at the bottom saying that we regard dental patients as medium risk. So you're still on for your respirators, and it's kind of like that. You lift me up, and then you smack me in the face with your little caveat at the bottom, and with no evidence, again, no logic behind it, and it really tipped me off. But I was listening to a webinar, and they had a couple of representatives from, not from PHE, but from Sage and someone else, and one of the, I'm going to paraphrase, can't quote, but basically said, well, it's one of these things, and we saw it when HIV or AIDS came along, and we saw it with the hepatitis patients, and we overreact initially, and then when we kind of realize that we're overreacting and we start getting the sort of robust data in, then we relax and we realize that universal precautions are actually working really nicely. And I'm not going to swear, but I thought, well, hang on a sec. If you've done that in the past and you've realized that you've overreacted and what you were doing was correct, not only for the hepatitis patients, but not only for the AIDS, HIV patients, as they were quoted as saying, then why are you doing it again? surely you should learn from your mistakes, that this overreaction and this, so push back on these people and make them realize. And I've since read little comments that there are certain people in Public Health England who should be ashamed of themselves that have not listened to the evidence and really pushed hard on the fallow time without any evidence at all, and really pushed that down as part of the regulations that we're having to go through, not only us, but other areas of healthcare, which I find terrible, because the ultimate people that pay the price are the patients. Which is, I thought, if you're there to protect those people and you're there to make their healthcare better, but actually what you're doing is harming them, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, back to the cynic.
I'll stop frothing now, Luke.
No, that's good. I like it. That's what we want. We want the screen sort of getting furred up with your froth. So essentially, I think, a lot of these people are sort of looking out for their own reputations and jobs, and, what if, fair enough, no harm in being a little bit cautious, but at the same time, these are often the people who kind of preach everything must be evidence-based, and if we don't do things that are evidence-based, then, all sorts of people can potentially come down on us like a ton of bricks, can't they?
Yeah.
So, there's a certain double standard there. So, but here's the question. So, is there a chance or a likelihood of further lockdowns involving dental practices closing?
You asking me or Luke, or both?
Anyone, whoever wants to pitch in.
See, I don't think we'll ever get to a situation where we close, and I think that was a mistake to start with. Although it did allow probably the SOPs to come out in some shape or form, but whether I agree with those or not is different. That's for another webinar, maybe. I think that it gave the opportunity to people to get their kind of heads around how they wanted to look after patients, protect the patients and protect the staff. However, I think we'll probably find that actually what we were doing was safe enough, and it's okay to take these extra precautions. I think the idea that we were saving the PPE for the centres it wasn't really necessary, and I think we've seen that. So we're not seeing the spikes, and it's sad to say, but in the death rates, when you look at the cases and you compare them to the death rates, we're not seeing the same as we were seeing originally. So I can't see any logic behind closing dental practices again. I can't imagine that those death rates are going to anything like they were before. And then it begs the question about how effective these tests are that they're doing, and the effectiveness of the testing that they're coming through. Any false positives? How are they doing those? How are they focusing those tests? So what was it like originally with cases compared to how it is now? We won't know because we weren't testing like we are now. So, do you want me to run for Prime Minister?
or President?
Yeah. I don't know. What are your views, Luke?
I can't see them closing us again. I just can't see it happening any. I was speaking to my mate that I qualified from university, and he works in Blackpool, I think, or somewhere around that area, and they're tier 3 now up there, aren't they? And they're operating, well, not as normal, but as we would be down here. They're not doing anything different, and I can't see them closing us, like Carl says. I just don't see how that would benefit anyone. I don't know. But then I said when it was all kicking off in the first place, I said to Hugo and I said to Ian, I said, we're gonna get closed here. And they were like, no, they just won't close us, and it's not gonna happen. And then look what happened. So
yeah.
But I think on the other hand, we are quite a noisy profession, and I think we're pretty good at getting mobilised quickly, which obviously is what happened with the British Association of Private Dentists. I think everybody kind of jumped on top of that. I was there badgering my local MP and councillors and that kind of thing. And I think generally politicians have got enough on their plate and want an easy ride, don't they, generally? And they probably just think, oh, those blinking dentists, you know what I mean? Can we be bothered putting up with them shouting and screaming again? So I suspect that's part of the reason as well. Apart from the shambles of dental care whilst we were locked down, I mean, my weeding was immaculate, and the lawn was looking great, but you know, all our patients' teeth had turned to crap, hadn't they? Really. So there you go.
I know, and you know, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what the research that comes out from Birmingham Dental Hospital is about the dental healthcare workers and their sort of COVID rates, and how that compares to other healthcare workers. But I mean, now we're sort of back at it, and I'm visiting practice and talking to people and chatting to staff, and those people that have been for tests, we're not really seeing, you know, that worrying concern that they seem to have had, that dentists were going to be spreading COVID, not only between their staff and the clinicians, the reception staff, the nurses, the whole support team, but also into the population, because we're so filthy, as they kind of give us this perception of, which is a real shame. It's about time they actually realized, you know, they could learn from how we work a hell of a lot. And how fantastic that not only the clinicians and the support staff, but the whole dental industry understands cross-infection and universal precautions compared to other healthcare industries. I think we're right up there because of the way that we work, and we are sort of performing surgeries on a daily basis. And for that reason, as you said before, Will, you know, we're used to dealing with what we regard as potential contamination, and how we make sure that is not passed on to the other patients and the team. So we've always been like that. We've always worked like that.
I think as a profession, we certainly got our house more in order from, say, when I first graduated. You know, in from everything in terms of medico-legal documentation, probably maybe a little bit too far in some respects, you know, with almost having our own regulatory bodies turning against us over the years. But in some ways, it probably has helped us as a profession get our house totally in order, which has maybe helped us down the line, you know, for where we are now.
I mean, how do you feel about it, Lou? I mean, I'm probably a little less stressed about things like the GDC and defensive dentistry. I don't really think about that when I'm treating patients. So I look at the patient and treat the patient. But do you feel that do you get stressed? Do you get a little bit worried about your dentistry and your notes and making sure that, see, that's
like, I probably wouldn't show it, but like every time I'm terrified something like that will happen, I'm will tell me, you know, so particular with everything, and that's because I have to think that every patient is a bad way of thinking. Well,
we're losing you a bit there, Luke. I don't know.
Breaking up a little bit, mate.
You're breaking up.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
And that sort of mentality that was drummed into me a little bit at university, that were, you know, hot on it. So can you hear me all right now?
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit. But
If
I just repeat what you said, is that you are worried about sort of litigation with all of your patients that you're looking after, and that was kind of what you were taught at uni. To kind of practice as a litigant. I think that there's a difference between the idea of contemporaneous notes, which is basically writing down what you do when you're looking after patients, and then worrying that there's this sword of Damocles over your head where the GDC are going to come down on you like a ton of bricks for accidentally burping in the surgery, and you know, this fear that all of your patients are out there to get a bit of money out of you. And it's a real sad state of affairs that's how you feel, and that's actually imprinted from a university kind of standard. But I think there's a difference between teaching how to do things correctly and how to do things in fear, and that kind of fear is, I don't think, the right thing. That we should be getting rid of that and still doing things right. But doing them out of fear is wrong. That's the wrong way to do it.
I think.
But I understand it.
I think I've been doing it for bit more time, not as obvious. You become a little bit more sort of confident in my own ability and what I'm doing, and things like that. So I think probably just a bit of experience.
Yeah, you're just breaking up a tiny bit, Luke, again.
I think perhaps with age comes a bit more confidence as well. Certainly from, when we used to start, you'd have an FP17 bit of paper, which was the paper record, and there'd be a whole line that just said EXSP. Exam, scale and polish.
Yeah. SPA, SPD, SPC.
Yeah. And that would literally just go all the way down the card. So you'd have a couple of years worth, on one side, and that was the notes really. So that was when we started. It was that kind of thing, But you didn't give it a second thought. A lot of patients were very deferential, and but yeah, times have changed. And to be honest, I don't overly worry about it. Probably the sort of stuff that you and I do, Carl, maybe we should in some respects. But I just think if, you're likely to get caught for something totally innocuous. Again, touch wood, I've had very few, run-ins over the years, and the odd ones which have been completely ridiculous and have, been dealt with very, very quickly. But yeah, those are the ones that when you least expect, really, And at the end of the day, I just think, what? If someone's going to get me, they're going to get me. And what are you going to do? Do you know what I mean? I take more of a philosophical approach to it now, and say, I'm pretty happy that I've invested so much, as probably you all have, in your education, in your further education, to deliver what you would hope is like above and beyond, a good standard of dentistry or implant dentistry. It's just, maybe that's an age thing. You just think, do you know what? It's what it is.
Yeah, I think so. I think it just comes with time.
Yeah. One day, Luke.
You could be like us.
Of course, I know. You hear me? Am I right?
Go on.
I'm going to say that, like, if you're not second guessing yourself, I think sometimes you can get yourself into trouble as well. So, I think a little bit's probably a good thing.
Definitely. Yeah. I think definitely. I don't think complacency is the right way to be. But are you two drinking? Very good.
Alcohol free.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a cup of coffee.
You teetotalers.
I know.
We had a parish council meeting the other day. I'm on our little parish council, and my mate was sipping out of his coffee cup, and he texts me and goes, "They don't realise that I've actually got beer in my coffee cup."
That's brilliant.
Wasn't getting Larry, was he? And
no, he was behaving.
Right. Oh, that's good.
I can tell this story now because the person's retired. But many years ago, when we were doing a tutorial, the clinician that I was working with said, "I'll see you in the canteen in a little bit," and I said, "Okay." So I ran the tutorial, and then you had that space of about 5 or 10 minutes before the clinic started, and I wandered into the canteen, and he said, there's a coffee for you." And then he went into his pocket, pulled out a little hip flask, and poured whiskey into the coffee. It's about 10 o'clock, and I'm going, "What?" It's like, "What?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I'll do it every Thursday."
Keeps the hand steady.
Go on, it'll get you through the morning with these guys. And I think no.
Old school.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a long time ago. Last week. No, it's a long time. It was a long time ago. It's before Luke started doing dentistry. Let's put it that way. So it was a long time ago. Yeah, it's before I could grow one of these.
Oh, look at that! It's coming on a treat, isn't it?
I love the beard.
You're next, mate. You're next.
That's the why I'm most annoyed. I'm so pissed off. I have to keep shaving all the time. It's a nightmare.
Oh, of course, yeah. For your borrow that hood that Mike's got.
Then you can have a beard. Then you can have a beard like that.
Yeah.
Get into trouble.
Yeah. Right. I think we've run over again.
Time, please, gentlemen.
Yeah. So, Luke, thank you very much. Will, thank you.
Cheers,
thanks,
guys.
everybody, for listening. Luke, if you're up for it, we'll get you back on again, mate.
Yeah, whatever.
We'll try
whatever.
Yeah.
These young people, huh?
Yeah. No, it's been great, mate. Cheers. Thanks for joining in and putting up with us. And hopefully, if you are keen, you didn't sound it, then I've got to be honest with you, mate.
I'll call you.
Yeah. But no, it's been cheers, mate. I really appreciate it. So thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Good weekend, guys.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.